What is up, guys, and welcome to the Season 6 finale of the Monoposto Driver Career Mode. It is finally time. The 2026 Formula 1 calendar has reached its climax here in Abu Dhabi for round 20 of the season. Fernando Alonso enters this round as your championship leader, currently standing on 273 points. Then in second place, hot on his heels, is myself on 269 points. And in third place, this man will need a miracle to win the championship today, as anything less than P1 will not be good enough for Esteban Ocon, who currently sits on 249 points, 24 points adrift off the lead. So if Fernando Alonso scores a single point or more today, it is all but game over for my French teammate. So realistically, in this finale today, it is myself versus Fernando to see whether we will crown Fernando Alonso a three-time world champion or crown me as world champion for the first time in my career. Obviously, Alonso is currently sat in the box seat at the ripe old age of 45 years old. He'll become the second oldest Formula 1 world champion, I think, because I know Fangio is 46. However, obviously, we are always looking to spoil the party. So with that said, let's see the starting grid for the final time this season. In the most important race of his Formula 1 career, it is Esteban Ocon, the man who has delivered his second career pole at just the right time. He took his first ever career pole earlier on this year at the Belgian Grand Prix. He's joined on the front row by Lando Norris. It was very, very close in the fight for pole. And then I have qualified in P6, and crucially, Fernando Alonso is behind me all the way down in row 5 on the grid in P9. So as it stands, if the Grand Prix were to finish exactly where we started, I would be crowned World Drivers' Champion for the first time in my career. Lance Stroll in the second Aston Martin is also all the way down in P14, so he's randomly came good for Brazil and Qatar, and now he's slunk quietly back into the midfield again. So it doesn't look like he's going to be a factor in this race to potentially cause me a headache and help out his teammate Fernando Alonso in his bid to become a three-time world champion. Here is the setup for the final time this season. It all comes down to this. We have waited our entire career for this moment. This is the closest we've ever been to our first ever Formula 1 World Drivers title. Let's see if we can win it. We are underway for the final time in 2026, and it's been a pretty ordinary start off the line. Going up the inside is Yuki Tsunoda and the McLaren of Pierre Gasly, and crucially, Fernando Alonso. It's not been a good start. Gasly, actually, I think it turns out he'd lost a couple of places, but at turn 1, I think he was alongside me. Now it's Mick Schumacher, the driver who's closest to me. Gasly there going for a move up the inside, and Alonso's in front of me, and there's contact. Porsche has been spun round. So I don't know what's happened there. For some reason, there's no safety car or VSC. I felt like that would have been necessary. Maybe no one's retired, but actually it's been an abysmal start. We're down in P11 on softs as well. Better use up some of the battery to immediately fly past Pierre Gasly. We've got the overspeed. We're going to go wheel to wheel. No, we're not. We're going to fly straight past our championship rival Fernando Alonso. Back up into P9 we go. That's a definitive move. Although, unfortunately, because of course the gap to Fernando Alonso is only 4 points, we need to finish at least 2 positions in front of him. So if I outscore Fernando Alonso today, fine. But if he only finishes 1 place behind me, then Fernando is still crowned world champion by 2 points. So simply finishing 1 place in front of him is not enough. However, Gasly had since managed to get in front of Fernando Alonso, and now the French driver has got past me. Don't forget, 1 year ago it was the French driver claiming his first ever World Drivers' Championship for his first year at McLaren, although now I'm the driver with DRS, although we're not quite close enough to be able to make a move. And in fact, if you look at the current positions on the left hand side of the screen, you can see Théo Pourchaire is currently in front of Fernando Alonso, which is really good news for me. Oh no, maybe not. It looks like the Aston Martin driver has just managed to get past the Alfa Romeo Penske, which, although it's 2 places, as I was only in P9, that still wouldn't have been enough, because I'm only scoring 2 points. We now move on to the start of lap number 6, and I'm going to come in for my scheduled pit stop today. And I say scheduled because even though I started on the softs, I'm throwing everything at this Grand Prix. We're going to do an aggressive 1-stop from soft to medium. That is the plan. We are going to push these year's tyres to the limit. It makes sense. This is our one chance to effectively get it all right. This is the time when we need to be making sure that we can make the tyres last, make the rubber go the distance. We've seen already on countless times this season that the tyre wear this year is so much better than in previous seasons gone by, and we are going to put that to the absolute test today to see if we can drive the final 8 or 9 laps of this Grand Prix on this single set of medium compound tyres, meaning that we should not need to make another pit stop in this Grand Prix as we're immediately diving to the inside of the Williams of Logan Sargent. He started on the hard compound tyre. That to me suggests that he's going to be attempting the no-stop strategy, so maybe Williams are going all out to see if they can finally get some points this year in the final Grand Prix. Meanwhile, with DRS assisted, I can also fly past the Repsol Haas of Jayan Deruvila. Next up is Yuki Tsunoda, who has just gotten past the second Repsol Haas. This time it's Felipe Drogovic, of course, facing a grid penalty after deciding not to make a pit stop in the previous Grand Prix in Qatar. It paid dividends though for Haas as they managed to score some more points, although I quickly dispatch of him at the hairpin once again. Now though, me and Tsunoda are both following the Ford performance car of Dennis Hauger, who is currently running in P10, currently therefore occupying the final points paying position, and every point counts. Fernando Alonso still out on the track, so therefore we're going to follow Yuki through as quickly as possible. This is quite useful actually for me because it enabled me to just get some DRS, recharge quite a bit of my battery and overtake some much slower cars, so I felt this was a useful exercise, although now I feel like the time to overtake Yuki and exploit my true potential has arrived, and that's exactly what we do, going up the inside of turn number... I can't remember what corner it is. At the end of the middle sector, you know which corner I mean, as we're now all over the back of Guan Yu Zhou, who almost brake tested me, and we almost hit him. That completely caught me off guard there, as did Yuki Tsunoda, the Red Bull driver there, making an unorthodox plays to the inside through the hotel section. So, you know, obviously that caught me off guard a little bit, so I'm just going to try and repay the favour and catch him off guard by, for the 3rd or 4th time already this afternoon, making a dive to the inside of the hairpin. We're now about to start lap number 9. We can see Fernando Alonso in the pits. He's going for soft compound tyres, so that's interesting. So I think Aston Martin have put Fernando Alonso on the same tyre compounds as me. We've just gone for the reverse strategy. So as it stands, we are in the box seat to tie with Fernando Alonso because he is 2 places behind me. However, Fernando would win because he's won 5 Grand Prix this year and I've only won 4. So ideally, I need to get this move done on Oscar Piastri, who you may have noticed has a 5-second time penalty. Actually, if it finished that way, we would still be crowned world champion because Oscar Piastri would therefore be dropped behind me, although it would just depend if Fernando Alonso is within 5 seconds of Piastri. Piastri would also be dropped behind Fernando, so therefore it would effectively all just cancel out again. Anyway, we're now on to lap number 10. I'm currently up in P5. Fernando Alonso is currently running in net P7, although it is real P7 because he's just overtaken Piastri with that 5-second penalty, of course. The driver behind me at the moment is Pierre Gasly. The driver in front of me at the moment is the Audi Sport of Lando Norris, and sure enough, a few corners later, the McLaren of Pierre Gasly on those fresh softs. He is so quick. He has so much grip. And in that car, which seems to have been upgraded possibly for this weekend, McLaren making a final dash to try and end the season on a high. He flies past me, makes that move look easy. But now this is the battle you all wanted to see. This is myself versus Fernando Alonso. We're going toe-to-toe for the World Drivers' Championship at the end of the 2026 season. The Spanish driver has arrived, although he doesn't need to overtake me. He simply just needs to sit right behind me and he'll still win the championship by 2 points, although it seems like that's not what's on his mind because he is sticking to me like glue. He's right there. Behind him now though is the Red Bull driver of Max Verstappen. You can see my tyres are on the orange setting. I've understeered and gone wide. The proximity arrow distracted me, although it's Max Verstappen the driver who ends up going through, not Fernando Alonso. Notice the Dutchman also has a 5-second time penalty, so you know, there seems to have been lots of incidents which could really, I guess you could say, disrupt the final standings of this Grand Prix. So as it stands, myself and Alonso are going to be running in P6 and P7 respectively. Unfortunately, I have practically 0 ERS available and the grip is wearing down fast. We only have 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. George Russell is miles out front on the hard, so I think Mercedes are cooking another absolute master plan here to somehow, out of nowhere, possibly get their 2nd Grand Prix victory of the season. Fernando Alonso is all over the back of me. This guy just will not take a hint. He just will not catch a break. I'm absolutely driving this car off the road. I am pushing to the limit. I do not have any more pace than this on tyres which are as worn as this, and yet still Fernando seems to have absolutely no end of grip, no end of pace. I've already mentioned on previous occasions that I still believe the Aston Martin car is potentially slightly better packaged than ours overall. although it just feels like perhaps at times their drivers have underperformed this season, particularly Lance Stroll, who's currently still running in P12. Obviously, we know we have already thankfully wrapped up the Constructors' Championship for the team. That was sealed at the previous Grand Prix in Qatar. So Aston Martin are just throwing everything at this Drivers' Championship for Fernando Alonso. Although this is Pierre Gasly, the McLaren driver. It looks like he's got a puncture. Oh no, what a shame that is for the French driver. He had such good pace. He had the fastest lap of the Grand Prix to his name as well. Although Fernando Alonso, this is the closest he's ever been to me. I'm out of DRS. There's absolutely nothing I can do. And with all the grip in the world, DRS and DRS, Fernando Alonso flies around the outside and he takes the position away from me. And with that, there is only a lap and a bit left of this Grand Prix. That might finally be curtains for us in our championship bid. This is the second time in our career that we've had a chance of winning the title going into the finale. The previous one was at the end of my first year with Mercedes in 2024 when we were tied on points with Verstappen going into the finale. Although in the end it was Charles Leclerc who came out victorious back in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix of that year. As we are now starting the final lap of the Grand Prix, look at Fernando Alonso. He's pulling away. The only saving grace for me is that perhaps because Alonso's on a softer compound of tyres, surely his tyres must be starting to wear thin as well. Don't forget, he put those on lap number 9, and when you consider that I boxed at the end of lap number 5 or 6 to change my tyres, you'd like to think that he'd be getting some sort of effects of tyre wear at the moment, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. There's a bit of a lock-up from me there. I'm really struggling trying to use up every ounce of the battery. Unfortunately, we have just missed out on DRS, and it doesn't look like it's quite going to be enough. The gap is currently 1.4 seconds if you look at the chart on the left-hand side. So as it stands, even if I was to overtake Fernando Alonso, it wouldn't be enough to win the championship. But as we cut to the front of the field, once again this season, it will be Mercedes who will emerge victorious, courtesy of a zero-stop strategy, as George Russell, of all people, wins the season finale in Abu Dhabi with a fantastic drive from Mercedes. And they've had an absolute strategic masterclass because they put him on the zero stop in the final race of the season to mean that they avoid getting a penalty in the next race. However, for the third time in Formula 1 and the first time in 20 years, the longest gap between two world championships, it's Fernando Alonso, the world champion in Formula 1. Once again, Aston Martin provided him with the package, and with his skill, he's been the most consistent man all season long, the most Grand Prix victories. And to be honest, he really deserves this championship. He has been consistently the best driver. He's not had any bad races to speak of. He's just been super consistent, not always on the podium, but always scoring decent points finishes. And in Formula 1, consistency is key, and that proves to be the deciding factor in this year's championship. As for me, our tyres are completely shot, and we did everything we could, but unfortunately, as it was 2 seasons ago, it's not to be our year. So we will reset and we will go again in the next one. Speaking of the next one though, I feel like this is the right time to inform you that Monoposto Career Mode will be taking a back seat, as I have some other ideas of potential future videos incorporating the real life grid for the 2024 and 2025 seasons, which I may be able to upload. So please do let me know in the chat now, in the comments below, if that is something that you would like to see. But for the final time this season, here are the podium celebrations, and of all people, it's the unlikely hero of George Russell, the man standing on the top step of the podium for the first time this season. It's been a long time coming for Mercedes, but you know, they played the strategy to perfection today. They realised that if they did the zero stop strategy today, they wouldn't be penalised in the next Grand Prix, because that's been the rule for the whole season. You're welcome to do 0 pit stops, however you have to pay the price in the following Grand Prix. And as this is the last race, Mercedes decide to risk it, and in the end they've shocked the field to claim a second victory of the season. And George Russell, don't forget, he also managed to clinch the fastest lap on the final lap, suggesting that maybe there was a little bit of an element of true pace, as he did manage to qualify P4 in the grid. As for the rest of the podium, it's once again another double podium for Audi. Sainz and Norris back on the rostrum once again. How many times has that been the case this season? Although for their elusive first win in Formula 1, they may have to wait until next year. But there are the final results from Abu Dhabi, and here are the final championship standings. We end up 6 points behind Fernando Alonso, and Ocon ends up a further 14 behind myself. Then we have Sainz in P4, Norris in P5, Stroll in P6, and Pierre Gasly in P7, which I have to admit is not a testament to his season. For me, he's been arguably one of the most standout performers of this whole year for consistently dragging that McLaren car to podiums and to 2 Grand Prix victories at Spa and in Mexico. There is the full season set of results. You can pause to read any of these statistics, and coming up on screen now will be loads of other statistics which have been compiled using the Formula Game companion app. But for me and for Monoposto Driver Career Mode, that is the end. I really hope you've enjoyed this season. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, share and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and join my Discord server, both links in the description below. And I'll see you guys all in the next video, whenever that may be. Goodbye.